It was a cloudy evening when the Wilson family moved into their new home, a Victorian-style house nestled at the edge of a quiet town. The house had stood empty for years, and although it had an air of mystery, its charm was undeniable. 8-year-old Emily Wilson was the most excited about the move. As her parents unpacked boxes downstairs, Emily wandered into the attic, her curiosity piqued by the creaking staircase that led to it. The attic was dusty and filled with old furniture, trunks, and forgotten relics of a bygone era. Emily's eyes sparkled when she found a wooden chest tucked into a corner. She pried it open and discovered a porcelain doll, its face pale and smooth, with delicate features framed by golden curls. The doll wore an ornate blue dress with lace trimmings, and its glassy eyes seemed almost alive. "You're beautiful," Emily whispered, holding the doll close. She decided to name her Clara and carried her downstairs to show her parents. "What a lovely doll," her mother remarked, though her tone carried an edge of unease. Her father glanced at it briefly and shrugged. That night, Emily placed Clara on a shelf in her new bedroom, arranging her other toys around the doll. As the house settled into silence, Emily drifted off to sleep. She didn't notice how Clara's head tilted slightly to the side, nor did she see the faint gleam in the doll's eyes. At precisely 3 a.m., Emily woke up to a soft noise. It was faint, like the sound of someone whispering. She rubbed her eyes and glanced around her dimly lit room. The nightlight cast long shadows, but nothing seemed out of place. Clara sat motionless on the shelf, her glassy eyes fixed forward. Emily shrugged it off and went back to sleep, unaware of the slight movement in Clara's fingers. The next morning, Emily's mother noticed something strange. The family's pet cat, Whiskers, refused to enter Emily's room. He hissed and arched his back every time he got near the door. "That's odd," her mother said, frowning. But Emily was too preoccupied with Clara to pay attention. Over the next few days, Emily grew inseparable from Clara. She carried the doll everywhere, to the garden, the dinner table, and even to bed. But strange things began happening around the house. Objects were found in places they shouldn't be, like a pair of scissors on the living room floor, or a shattered vase in the hallway. Emily's parents initially blamed the disruptions on the chaos of unpacking. Then came the whispers. Emily's mother started hearing faint, unintelligible murmurs late at night, always emanating from Emily's room. One night, she opened the door to check on her daughter. Emily was fast asleep, but Clara sat upright on the bed, positioned differently than how Emily had left her. "Honey, did you move the doll?" her mother asked the next morning. "No, Mommy. Clara doesn't like to be moved." Emily's mother froze, her hands trembling slightly. "What do you mean?" "She told me," Emily replied matter-of-factly, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. That evening, Emily's father decided to take a closer look at the doll. He examined Clara's porcelain face, her intricately stitched dress, and her unnervingly lifelike eyes. "It's just a doll," he said, placing her back on the shelf. But as he turned to leave, he felt a sudden chill run down his spine, as if someone were watching him. The real terror began that night. At 3 a.m., the Wilsons were jolted awake by the sound of Emily screaming. They rushed to her room to find her sitting upright in bed, trembling and pointing at the shelf. Clara was gone. "She's hiding!" Emily cried. She doesn't like it when you touch her." Her parents searched the room and found the doll sitting in the corner, her head tilted downward as if in thought. Emily's father picked up Clara and stuffed her into a box in the attic. "That's enough of this nonsense," he said firmly. For a few days, things seemed to return to normal. Emily was upset about Clara's disappearance, but eventually stopped asking for her. However, the peace was short-lived. On the fifth night, the whispers returned, louder this time, echoing through the hallways. Emily's mother woke up to find her daughter standing at the foot of her bed, clutching Clara, whose box in the attic had been torn open. "She came back," Emily said in a flat, emotionless voice. Her parents decided they needed to get rid of the doll. The next morning, Emily's father drove to a nearby landfill and discarded Clara, burying her under piles of garbage. When he returned, the family felt a collective sense of relief. But that night, Clara was back. She sat on Emily's shelf, her blue dress immaculate, her glassy eyes gleaming in the moonlight. Terrified, the Wilsons decided to seek help. They contacted a local historian who specialized in the supernatural. The man, an elderly scholar named Mr. Hargrove, came to their house armed with old books and tools. "This doll is cursed," Mr. Hargrove explained after examining Clara. "She's bound by a restless spirit. Someone likely used her in a ritual long ago." "How do we stop her?" Emily's father asked. "The spirit must be released. But be warned, this is not without risk." That night, the family gathered in the living room while Mr. Hargrove performed the ritual. He placed Clara in the center of a salt circle and began chanting in a language none of them understood. The air grew heavy, and the lights flickered violently. Clara's glassy eyes seemed to follow them, filled with malice. Suddenly the doll let out a piercing scream. Emily fainted, and the candles surrounding the circle were extinguished. When the lights came back on, Clara was gone. In her place was a pile of ash. The Wilsons moved out of the house shortly after. Emily never spoke of Clara again, but she often woke up at 3 a.m., her eyes darting to the shadows in her room. Her parents tried to comfort her, but deep down, they all knew the truth. Somewhere, Clara was waiting for another child to find her, waiting to never sleep again.